Deployed soldier gets divorce papers and empty bank account. Wife's fraud scheme collapsed when I got home. My name is Mason Torres, Staff Sergeant, 12th Combat Engineer Battalion stationed at Fort Benning, Georgia. I came home from deployment to find my wife had forged my signature on loan documents, sold our truck, and moved her boyfriend into our bedroom. Her biggest mistake was underestimating military financial protections. I'd been deployed in Iraq for 11 months when I got the call from my neighbor, Mrs. Henderson. She was 73 years old, lived next door for 20 years, and had watched me grow up from a kid riding bikes to a soldier deploying overseas. "Mason, honey," she said, her voice shaking, "I don't know how to tell you this, but there's been a lot of activity at your house. Jennifer's been bringing boxes out, and there's a man I don't recognize living there." Mrs. Henderson had been like a grandmother to me since my parents died in a car accident when I was 19. She was the one who encouraged me to enlist, who sent care packages to Iraq, who kept an eye on Jennifer while I was gone. "What kind of man?" I asked, though my stomach was already dropping. "Tall, drives a red pickup truck. He's been there for weeks, Mason. I think Jennifer might be seeing someone." I thanked Mrs. Henderson and immediately tried calling Jennifer. Straight to voicemail. I tried texting. No response. That night I called our bank to check our account balance. We'd had $47,000 in savings when I deployed. My combat pay, plus Jennifer's salary from the school district where she worked as a teacher. The automated system said our balance was $183. I requested emergency leave immediately. My commanding officer, Colonel Williams, approved it without question when I explained the situation. "Family emergencies take priority, Torres," he said. "Get home, handle your business, and let me know if you need extended leave." The flight from Baghdad to Atlanta felt like the longest 12 hours of my life. I kept trying to call Jennifer, kept getting voicemail. My mind raced through possibilities. But deep down, I knew what I was going home to find. Mrs. Henderson picked me up at the airport. She was crying before I even got in her car. "Mason, I should have called you sooner," she said. "I should have told you what was happening." "Tell me now," I said. She explained that Jennifer had been bringing men to the house for months. First just friends, she thought. Then one man started staying overnight. Then he moved in completely. "They've been loading a truck with your things," Mrs. Henderson said. "Your tools, your motorcycle, boxes and boxes of stuff. I took pictures." She handed me her digital camera. The photos showed my Harley Davidson being loaded onto a trailer, my tool collection being carried out in boxes, furniture disappearing piece by piece. "When did this start?" I asked. "About 6 months ago, right after you extended your deployment." 6 months. Half my deployment, Jennifer had been systematically emptying our house and our bank accounts. Mrs. Henderson dropped me off at the end of our street. I wanted to approach the house quietly, see the situation before anyone knew I was back. Our house looked different. The yard was overgrown, the mailbox was broken, and there was a red Chevy Silverado in our driveway, not Jennifer's car. I used my key to enter through the back door. The house was a disaster. Pizza boxes and beer cans covered the kitchen counters. The living room furniture was gone except for a cheap couch I'd never seen before. Most of our wedding photos had been taken down. I could hear voices upstairs, Jennifer's laugh, and a man's voice I didn't recognize. I sat at our kitchen table and waited. 20 minutes later, Jennifer came downstairs wearing a robe. She froze when she saw me. "Mason, what are you doing here?" "I live here," I said calmly. "The question is, who's upstairs?" Her face went white. "I can explain." "I'm listening." A man appeared at the top of the stairs. Tall, maybe 35, wearing my college sweatshirt. "Jen, everything okay?" he called down. Jennifer looked between us, panic in her eyes. "Marcus, this is my husband Mason. He's home from Iraq." Marcus came downstairs, extending his hand like we were meeting at a barbecue. "Hey, man, Jennifer's told me a lot about you. Thanks for your service." I stared at his outstretched hand, but didn't take it. "Get out of my house." "Look, man, this is awkward, but Jennifer and I are together now. She said you guys were getting divorced." I looked at Jennifer. "Are we getting divorced?" She couldn't meet my eyes. "Mason, things changed while you were gone. I got lonely, I met Marcus, and—" "Where's our money, Jennifer?" "What money?" "The $47,000 that was in our savings account when I deployed. It's gone." Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "Maybe I should go." "Yeah," I said, not looking away from Jennifer. "Maybe you should." After Marcus left, Jennifer and I sat in our empty living room. She explained that she'd been borrowing money from our account to pay bills, then to buy things for herself, then to support Marcus when he lost his job. "How much did you take?" I asked. "It's not stealing if it's my money too," she said defensively. I pulled out my phone and showed her our bank statement. "Jennifer, there's $183 left. You spent $46,817 in 11 months. You were gone," she exploded. "Do you know how hard it's been, how lonely? Marcus was there for me when you weren't." "I was deployed, serving our country. We talked about this before I left. Talking about it and living it are different things." I stood up and walked around our empty house. My workshop in the garage was completely cleared out. $15,000 worth of tools gone. My motorcycle was missing. Even my uniform collection had been sold. "Where are my things, Jennifer?" She looked away. "Marcus needed money to start his business. We sold some stuff." "My Purple Heart, Jennifer. Did you sell my Purple Heart?" The Purple Heart I'd earned when an IED exploded next to our convoy in Ramadi. The medal I'd bled for. Her silence was answer enough. "Get out," I said quietly. "What?" "Pack your things and get out of my house. Now." "You can't kick me out. I live here too." "No, you don't. Check the deed. This house is mine, bought with my VA loan before we got married. You have 1 hour to pack whatever's left of your belongings and leave." After Jennifer left, I called my bank's military support line. Every major bank has special protections for deployed service members, specifically to prevent this kind of financial abuse. The representative, Carol, walked me through the account activity. What I discovered was worse than I'd imagined. Jennifer hadn't just been spending our money, she'd been forging my signature on loan applications. "Mr. Torres," Carol said, "there are 3 separate loans on your account totaling $23,000. All were approved using your electronic signature, but the IP addresses show they were all applied for from your home address while you were deployed in Iraq." "That's impossible. I was in Iraq." "We know. Your military records show your exact deployment dates. This is clearly fraud." Jennifer had taken out a personal loan for $8,000, a home equity line of credit for $12,000, and a credit card cash advance for $3,000, all using forged authorizations in my name. But there was more. "There's also a vehicle title transfer," Carol continued. "Your 2019 Harley-Davidson was sold for $11,000. The paperwork shows your signature, but again, the transaction occurred while you were deployed. My motorcycle. The bike I'd saved for 2 years to buy, sold while I was dodging mortars in Fallujah." "What are my options?" I asked. "Military personnel have strong protections against financial fraud. We can reverse all unauthorized transactions, but you'll need to file a police report for identity theft and fraud." I called the Richmond County Sheriff's Office. Deputy Martinez arrived within an hour. "This is more common than you'd think," he said, reviewing the bank documents. "Military spouses sometimes take advantage of deployments to liquidate assets, but forging signatures on loans crosses into felony territory." "What happens now?" We investigate. Interview your wife, examine the paperwork, check security footage from the bank and the motorcycle dealership. If the evidence supports fraud charges, the district attorney will decide whether to prosecute. The next morning, Mrs. Henderson knocked on my door with a manila envelope. Mason, honey, I kept records of everything I saw. Dates, times, photos. I knew something wasn't right. Inside the envelope were detailed logs of activity at my house over the past 6 months. Mrs. Henderson had documented every time furniture was removed, every time Marcus's truck was there, every transaction she witnessed. More importantly, she'd photographed license plates and faces of people she didn't recognize who'd been coming to the house. There were others, she said. Not just Marcus, different men, helping to load trucks, taking things away. I think Jennifer was selling your belongings to multiple people. The scope of the betrayal was expanding. This wasn't just about Jennifer having an affair and spending our money. This was systematic theft and fraud, involving multiple people. I drove to the motorcycle dealership where my Harley had been sold. The manager, Tony, remembered the transaction. Yeah, nice bike, he said. The lady said her husband was deployed and needed quick cash for family emergency. Had all the paperwork, title was clean. Did she mention anything else? Actually, yeah. She asked if we bought other stuff. Tools, electronics, jewelry. Said she might have more items to sell. Jennifer had been shopping my belongings to multiple buyers, turning our house into her personal pawn shop while I fought overseas. That afternoon, I got a call from Detective Rodriguez with the sheriff's office. Mr. Torres, we've executed a search warrant on Marcus Bennett's residence. You need to see what we found. Detective Rodriguez met me at the police station. On his desk were photos from Marcus's house, my tools, my electronics, my military awards, even my college diplomas. Your wife and Mr. Bennett have been operating what we'd call a theft ring, Rodriguez explained. She'd identify valuable items in your house, he'd help remove them, and they'd sell them through various channels, pawn shops, online marketplaces, direct sales. How much are we talking about? Preliminary estimate? Around $35,000 in stolen property, plus the $47,000 in fraudulent financial transactions. Total loss approximately $82,000. I sat back in my chair. $82,000. Nearly 3 years of combat pay, stolen while I was serving my country. There's more, Rodriguez continued. We found evidence that this isn't their first time. Marcus Bennett has a history of targeting military spouses whose husbands are deployed. Your wife might not have been his first victim, she might have been his accomplice. The revelation hit me like a physical blow. Jennifer wasn't just a lonely wife who'd made bad decisions. She was potentially part of a systematic scheme to defraud deployed military personnel. We're reviewing bank records and social media accounts, Rodriguez said. We think Bennett might have targeted your wife specifically because of your deployment status and financial situation. How do you process learning that your marriage was potentially part of someone else's criminal enterprise? That evening, I called my commanding officer to update him on the situation. Torres, Colonel Williams said, this is bigger than personal family problems. If there's a systematic effort to defraud deployed personnel, that's a threat to military readiness. I'm contacting CID. CID, Criminal Investigation Division, military police who investigate crimes involving military personnel. Sir, is that necessary? Son, if criminals are specifically targeting deployed soldiers' families, every service member needs to know about it. This affects unit morale, family stability, and operational security. Special Agent Sarah Kim from CID arrived at Fort Benning 2 days later. She interviewed me for 3 hours, documenting every detail of Jennifer's fraud and Marcus's involvement. Sergeant Torres, Agent Kim said, your case fits a pattern we've been tracking. Marcus Bennett appears to be part of a network that systematically targets military families during deployments. She showed me a file containing similar cases from Fort Stewart, Fort Gordon, and Robbins Air Force Base, all in Georgia. Same pattern every time, Kim explained. Male suspect befriends military spouse, gradually moves into relationship, convinces spouse that deployed husband is unfaithful or hiding money, then systematically liquidates marital assets. How many families? At least 12 that we can document. Losses ranging from $30,000 to $150,000 per family. I thought about those other families, other soldiers coming home to empty houses and broken marriages. What can we do? We're building a federal case. Wire fraud, identity theft, conspiracy to commit fraud across state lines. Your wife's cooperation would be helpful, but we don't need it to prosecute Bennett and his associates. The next day, Jennifer called me. She was crying. Mason, the police arrested Marcus. They're saying I'm part of some criminal conspiracy. I need your help. Did you know? I asked. Did you know Marcus was targeting military families? Silence. Jennifer, did you know? He said military guys always have money saved up, and that deployment pay was basically free money since you weren't home spending it. He said military wives deserved to enjoy some of it while their husbands were gone. She'd known. Maybe not the full scope, but she'd known Marcus was specifically targeting military families. I can't help you, I said, but I'll give you some advice. Cooperate with the investigators. Tell them everything. It's your only chance to avoid federal charges. The investigation moved quickly once Jennifer agreed to cooperate. She provided details about Marcus's network, identified other women he'd been targeting, and helped investigators recover some of the stolen property. Marcus Bennett was charged with 15 counts of fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. His associates faced similar charges. The network had defrauded military families of over $1.2 million across 4 states. Jennifer was charged with identity theft and fraud, but received a reduced sentence in exchange for her cooperation. 2 years probation, full restitution, and community service focused on educating military spouses about financial fraud. The military response was swift and comprehensive. CID issued alerts to all installations warning about targeting of military families. Financial literacy programs were expanded. New protections were put in place to flag suspicious activity on accounts belonging to deployed personnel. As for me, the bank restored most of our stolen money under military financial protection laws. I recovered about 60% of my stolen property from various pawn shops and buyers. People who'd unknowingly purchased stolen goods were surprisingly understanding when they learned the circumstances. The Harley was gone, sold to someone in Florida who'd already registered it legally, but the insurance settlement let me buy a newer model. Jennifer and I divorced 6 months after I returned from deployment. The proceedings were straightforward. She had no claim to assets she'd helped steal, and there were no children to complicate custody. At the final hearing, she approached me outside the courthouse. "Mason, I know I can't undo what I did," she said. "I know you'll never forgive me, but I want you to know that I did love you before Marcus got into my head." I looked at the woman I'd married, the woman I'd trusted with everything while I served overseas. "Maybe you did," I said, "but love doesn't steal someone's purple heart while they're at war." That was the last time we spoke. I stayed at Fort Benning for another 2 years, finishing my enlistment. My experience became part of the training that CID developed for educating military families about financial fraud. I spoke at dozens of family readiness group meetings, sharing my story to help other families recognize the warning signs. The response was always the same: shock that such systematic targeting existed, followed by gratitude for the awareness. Colonel Williams pulled me aside after one of these presentations. "Torres, you turned a personal tragedy into protection for thousands of military families. That's what real service looks like." When I left the Army, I used my GI Bill to study cybersecurity at Georgia Southern University. My senior project focused on developing early warning systems for financial fraud targeting military personnel. Today, I work for a company that provides cybersecurity services to defense contractors. I'm married to an amazing woman named Sarah, who's a nurse at the VA hospital in Augusta. She understands military life, respects my service, and would never see my deployment as an opportunity for personal gain. We've been married 3 years now, and when I deploy with the National Guard, I come home to the same house, the same bank account, and the same woman who kissed me goodbye. Sometimes people ask me if I regret serving, knowing what it cost me personally. The answer is always no. Military service requires sacrifice, and sometimes that sacrifice comes from unexpected directions. I lost a marriage, lost money, lost property. But I helped expose a criminal network that was systematically targeting military families. Marcus Bennett received 8 years in federal prison. His network was dismantled. New protections were put in place to safeguard other families. The Army's financial literacy programs now include specific warnings about deployment period fraud. Most importantly, I learned that some battles don't end when you come home from war. Sometimes the real fight is protecting what you've built while you're gone. My name is Mason Torres, and I'm the soldier who came home to nothing but built something better from the wreckage. Not through revenge or bitterness, but through persistence, justice, and the understanding that sometimes serving others means sharing your worst moments to prevent theirs. The best revenge against betrayal isn't anger. It's creating something so strong that it can't be stolen, forged, or destroyed by anyone who doesn't deserve to be part of it. Mason's story highlights the vulnerability of military families during deployment and the systematic nature of financial predators who target service members. By working with law enforcement and military investigators, Mason helped protect countless other families from similar betrayal. His recovery wasn't just personal, it was a service to his fellow soldiers and their families.